Hello everyone. In this video, we will discuss high probability MERN Stack interview questions that are commonly asked in interviews. So, if you want to crack your MERN interview, these are the questions you cannot afford to miss. So, let's start with React. These are some of the most commonly asked React interview questions. So, the first and most common question you will hear is, what is React? So, you can say like, React is a JavaScript library used to build fast and interactive user interfaces, mainly for single page applications. Now let's move to the next question. So that is, what is JSX? So you can explain like JSX is a syntax extension that let us write HTML like code inside JavaScript. That's it. Now let's proceed further. The next logical question is props versus state. You can give an overview like this, like props are used to pass data from one component to another, whereas states is used to manage data inside a component and can change over time. Just explain their usage, no need to go deep. Now, virtual DOM. This question is almost guaranteed in interviews. So you can say like React uses a virtual DOM to improve performance. Instead of updating the real DOM directly, React updates a virtual copy first and then efficiently updates only the required parts in the real DOM. This shows you understand why React is fast. Next comes React routing. Here, interviewers usually expect you to know about browser router. So like you can say React router help us navigate between pages without reloading the page, and browser router is used to handle routing using the browser's URL. This explanation is totally acceptable in the interviews. Now, this is a very important topic, especially for freshers and internship. So like you should explain about hook, and you should mention that you know the important hooks and what they are used for. For fresher level interviews, you should clearly understand use effect and use state. So inside use effect, there's one concept interviewers love to ask about, the dependency array. So you can explain dependency array like the dependency array controls when the use effect runs based on the changes in the value. Just showing awareness of this concept already give you an edge. So we have almost covered everything. The last important topic is conditional rendering. You can say like conditional rendering is used to render UI based on certain conditions. So this is very common in real projects. So interviewer asked it a lot. And that's it. These are the most common and important React interview question you should be prepared for. So now let's proceed to the backend interview questions, which are Node.js and Express. These are the backend questions you should be well prepared for. So what is Node.js? This is indeed a question you are going to face. You can explain how Node.js is a runtime environment and that lets you run JavaScript on the server. So let's proceed further. Next is single-threaded explanation. You can tell them Node.js uses one thread to execute JavaScript. So honestly, this is almost the type of question that can make or break your interview. Now, what is the event loop? Here you should explain in detail how Node.js event loop handles asynchronous operations by offloading tasks and executing their callbacks in a non-blocking way when the call stack is free. Moving ahead, what is npm and package.json? This is also confirmed. You will face this. You can explain that npm works as a package manager and package.json is the main configuration file of the project. Next up, what is Express.js? So you can explain like Express is a lightweight Node.js framework used to build fast and scalable web APIs. Now, middleware. Chances of the interviewer asking this are very high. You should explain their importance and practical use in handling requests and responses. We have covered almost half the questions now. Next is HTTP methods. You can briefly explain about get, post, put or delete method in it. So now, one of the very important concept is CORS. Explain how cross-origin resource sharing problems occurs and how you handle them. Now, REST APIs. Explain that REST is an architectural style that lets client communicate with servers using HTTP methods. So now, if the interviewer wants to check your practical skills, they may ask about HTTP status codes like 404, 500 and more. So finally we have error handling. You should explain how you handle errors using try-catch blocks and maybe one middlewares for global error. So that's all for the backend interview questions. Now let's move on to database questions. So first is, what is MongoDB? So you can explain like MongoDB is a NoSQL database that stores data in a flexible JSON-like documents instead of tables. Now next, a question you will almost certainly get, that is SQL versus NoSQL. So you can explain like SQL database are structured, table based and enforced schemas, whereas NoSQL databases like MongoDB are flexible, document based and schemaless. So be ready to explain the difference quickly. Now let's talk about collection versus document in MongoDB. So you can say like a collection is like a table that holds multiple documents, and a document is a single record stored in JSON-like format. Now let's move on to the next question, that is, what is ID field? So like every document in MongoDB has an ID field, which is a unique identifier automatically added to distinguish each document within a collection. So one of the highest probability question is this, that is, what is Mongoose? So you can say like Mongoose is an ODM modeling library for Node.js. It helps you define schemas and interact with MongoDB in an easy and structured way. So now comes the question on schemas and models. So you can explain like schema is basically a blueprint. So it defines the structure, types and rules for documents in a collection, whereas a model is a compiled schema that gives you an interface to interact with the corresponding MongoDB collection. So finally, the question you must practice, that is writing MongoDB queries. Interviewers often ask for like find, insert, update, delete queries. Make sure you know basic commands like find, insert one and update one, and etc. So that's all. We have covered every important topic you need to know for your MERN Stack interview, and thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.